All right, guys, let's waste no time and get into how to build a custom bot on ChatGPT. Now, the first thing I want to show you is actually what a completed custom bot looks like. And then we're going to break down how we actually get through all of those steps. So this is what a completed bot looks like. So there's basically two parts you have to get right. There's the instructions part and the conversations starters part. So I'm going to show you what the instructions part looks like. And we're going to actually break it down and look at each part. And then we're going to look at like how I kind of got all of this and put it together if you're starting from scratch. So if we look here, you can see what I want you to do is look at this in two sections. So section 1, which is like the behavior part. It's like guiding, it's giving ChatGPT information on how it has to respond to us and what we're going to be giving to it. So this is the behavior part. And the second part of it is guidelines, which is a lot longer. So that's how I want you to think of it, first of all. Now, for the behavior part, there's a few rules. So if we're just looking at this part here, there's a few steps or rules that we want to follow. So first off, you're going to want to give it a role. So your role is an expert social media post writer in this example. Now, the reason we give it a role is because ChatGPT is based on probability. Every answer or output it gives you is a probability. Every word in a sentence that it's giving, the next word is a probability. And there's different words it can give you. And it's pulling from a massive database of information. The way it assigns probability or numerical values to each word in a sequence is basically by the input that you're giving it and it matching that with a database. So what you want to do is give it a role so that it's basically going to get you more probable answers to what you're looking for. If that doesn't make sense, just think of it as if you give it a role, it's going to be more of an expert in that. Just think of it like that. So give it a role, right? Now, the second thing you want to do is what I call an input-output sentence. So this is where you say, hey, ChatGPT, here's what I'm going to give you. And when I give you this, or when I say this, you're going to do this. Now, I've done it a little complicated here. It could look a lot simpler. So for example, it could just be, if we pretend that this isn't here anymore, it could just be like this. It could just be, when I tell you, you know what, I might just copy paste. So it'll come here. It could literally just be that. So if we just cut that out, pretend that's not there, it could literally just be that. When I ask you to brainstorm social media posts, you will follow the steps below in sequential order. And that's it. But what I've done here is I want this bot to do multiple different things depending on what I ask it. So that's why I've done it a little differently. I've said I will ask different things of you. And when I do, your responses will differ. So I've told it that I'm going to ask different things. And when I do, your response has to be different. See below for my input and your expected response. And then I've broken it up. So input 1, input 2. You could do more if you want. You could have input 3, input 4, input 5. And then underneath each input, I've written what my exact input is. So when I ask you to, and then that would be my input, follow these steps in sequential order. This is really important to make sure it follows those steps. And then I've given it those steps. So step 1, step 2. And then for my second input, if I ask you to write a social media post, you're going to follow these steps in order. 1, 2, 3. And that's really simple, right? Now, what happens is this here, so brainstorm social media posts and write a social media post, that's what I'm giving it. That's going to be my input. So those inputs go here in the conversation starters. So then when you start working with your bot, they'll pop up as buttons. You can click that button and then that'll start that process. So if I click this one, it's going to start this process. It's going to start this process. If I click this one, it's going to start that process. Watch. So if I click this one, I'll give it a top topic. So how to succeed in business. And just so you can see there, that's the conversation starters, right? Here. I'll cover that back up. And it's actually following the social media, it's following the brainstorm process here. So ask me for a title, it did that, and now it's brainstorming 15 ideas, right? Now, what if I do the second option? So if I just I don't even have to click the button. If I just do that, let's see what it does. It might stuff up here because I didn't start from scratch, but oh, I didn't. There you go. We'll do the same one. So you can see here how like the different prompts are now starting different sequences of actions, and I'm basically perfect. And I'm basically like building that in here in that behavior response part. And you can see here, like when I ask you to write a social media post, you're going to ask me for a title, write a post, which it did, and then brainstorm 3 more ideas. And it did that. Whereas in the last example, which is when I said brainstorm ideas, then it asked me for a title, it did that, and then it actually brainstormed 15 ideas. I obviously stopped it short, but that's the point. So you want to give it these behavior responses, and it's going to behave in the exact way you want it. And then you use your conversation starters to really enhance that process. So a lot of people, they aren't really using the conversation starters how they're meant to. So think about what your input's going to be and what your output what you want the output to be, and then bring that into the instructions and the conversation starters part, and it's going to like enhance the way you use your bot. All right, next step. So the next part is the guidelines. Then I have like, please follow the guidelines below for writing social media posts. And I pretty much have a heading, and then I just paste the guidelines. And at the bottom of the guidelines, I have examples of good output. It's like an example of good social media posts, and I have that there. Now, I'm going to show you how we actually build those guidelines. But if you also had like a PDF of a book, like maybe it's a book about how to write the best social media post, then you could literally write here, please refer to the PDF attached, titled, write down the title of the PDF, just say it's this. All right, I'm just doing something random now. So how to brainstorm social posts, to brainstorm your posts, and then you say what the PDF is about. So the PDF details the exact process you want to use to brainstorm posts. I don't know, whatever, right? So basically you're saying, please refer to the PDF, and then you're telling it what to use the PDF for, and then you're telling it what the PDF is about. And that one line will help it use any extra knowledge you give it. So if you want to come down here and upload a file, you can do that. And now the instructions refers to that, so it knows how to use it. So you want to make sure you're actually referring to any PDFs or attached materials that you're using, right? But we're obviously not doing that here, so I'm going to delete it. Now, how do we so you know how to get all this, right? You know how to do a role, you know how to, do the input, output, and the 2 different ways to do that. How do you develop the guidelines? Well, what I would do is literally come to ChatGPT and ask it how to do it. So I would say, and if you're not an expert, I would do this. If you're an expert in the field that you're going creating a custom bot for, then you can kind of come up with your own guidelines. But if you're not an expert and you don't know how to do it, simply ask. Because remember, this has more knowledge than you. So and now that's the first step, you ask. Then you're going to say, the second step is going to be, did you miss anything or leave anything out? Because we wanted to give as much information as possible. So yeah, let us spit whatever we wanted to spit out. And then we're going to say, did you leave anything out? It's going to come back with more information. It's going to continue the list. Then we're going to say, now let's say we want it to use some information as well. So we're going to say, please summarize the info on the below URLs. So my camera actually cut out, so I'm just going to show you what the completed chat line looked like. So I asked it to summarize the info on the below URL because I wanted to give it some more info on how to use ChatGPT, because it's given me some guidelines, but now I want to teach it a little bit too, based on what I know or what I found elsewhere that I wanted to consider. And it's basically then giving me a summary. Then the next step is to say, create a final guide on how to write social media posts, incorporating the above information as well as the information you provided at the start. So it's going to take this info that I got from this blog, and it's going to take all the info it gave me, and it's going to produce a final guide. And all of this becomes your primer. or your guidelines, basically, which you'll pop in right in here under that guidelines section, right? So if we come back here, after that, we want examples. So I asked it, provide me with 3 examples, and it gave me some really bad examples. So I basically said, please do a longer form LinkedIn example with a strong hook, because that's what I like. And it gave me those examples. Now, still did it in a weird way where it broke it up by hook, body, and CTA. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, pop it into a Word doc, edit it, get it right. Spend some time on it and get it right. And I'll do the same for the other examples it gave me. And then when they're right, I'll copy them and paste them into here under the examples section. And then that way, it knows what the output has to look like. If you wanted to, you could even go a step further and basically create a Google Doc with just a bunch of examples and then just download that as a PDF, upload it to the custom bot and refer to that PDF in your custom bot instructions. So there's a lot of ways you can go about this, but this is the general process you want to use to build a custom bot. So reminder, you need to start with a role, you need to go input, this is what my input's going to be, this is what your output has to be, and you can break that up with different sections. Make sure it's a sequential order for each section, and then if there are different sections, use a conversation starter for each different section. And then you need to do this little like reverse engineering approach here to develop some guidelines and some examples, and then use those in your instructions as well, and that will help your blog bot do exactly what you need it to do. So this is how you build a custom bot. Hope that helped. Peace out.